In this solo episode, Grace talks to herself in a room about medication changes, elegant piss fountains, and reads some listener corrections and write-ins, including a dog and arm-based squirrel trauma story. Remember that segment? This episode may not be the most cohesive, but you try doing a podcast! We'll both be back next week with a regular long-ass episode about sensory needs. But until then, enjoy these ravings of a madwoman in this tasty little Smorg dashboard hodgepodge platypus of a bagel bite that's really just one long sidebar.
They said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn, and most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention, there's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather, weirds of a feather.
Hello! This is Weirds of a Feather, an AuDHD-Adjacent podcast. I'm your host, Grace. And I'm your host, Kristen. Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Kristen. We're here in the pod loft. And don't I know that, Kristen? So today, I am coming at you with a solo bagel bite. Yes, you heard it. Oh, Lucy, what are you doing in here? Oh, you know what? Lucy heard me talking to what I know you guys thought was Kristen, but it was actually me doing two different voices. I'm just that good. But Lucy just started whining and came charging in here looking for someone. And so I'm guessing it's because I was talking about Kristen. Buddy, she's not actually here. I was just joshing. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, right. So this is a solo bagel bite number 9. Yes, number 9. Number 9. I got it, Kristen. I got it. This is number 9. I'm doing a solo episode because next week's episode is a bit of a long one. It's about sensory needs and stimming, so that'll be a great one. So check it out next week. But it's a long one, a lot of editing. And so on top of next week's episode being really long, I haven't had much time to edit this week. And so, like usual, I'm kind of throwing together a last minute thing. So Chris and I chatted a little bit about what we want to have in this bagel bite. So here I am doing this tasty little bagel bite all by myself. Don't make me sing the song. All by myself. Can't help it. Okay, so where am I? All right, I know this is bagel bite number 9, and I have it in my Google Doc title. Then the actual title in the Google Doc says number 8. No, Grace, you're wrong. This is number 9. This is number 9. And I chanted it out loud by myself, and that makes it real. Oh, another update that I have. I'm going to dive right in. Oh, let me cover what this bagel bite is going to be about. Like usual, it's going to be a bit of a smorg of updates, little notes that we have, some listener write-ins, and some emails that we've gotten, and yeah, kind of just a hodgepodge platypus bagel bite. So strap in and strap on. All right. So I know we don't usually do oh, yes, we do. Okay, I'm going to do a little plish. Here's my little plish. Little plishes. So my little plish is that, so I've been on Vyvanse for, like maybe 7 or 8, how long? Since I was 24, since I started grad school at 24, yes. So how long is that? 8 years. So, God. It's hard. It's stressful doing this yourself. You know, you think it's no big deal to just like talk into a mic, and then here you are in a room just talking to yourself and having to get like keep yourself on track, get all amped up, and keep yourself motivated and on task. So just bear with me, guys. But also, you tried doing this. It's hard, okay? I appreciate you sticking with me and sticking it out for whatever the fuck this is and whatever this episode will be. Oh, so my little plish, focus, guys, focus. So I've been on Vyvanse for a super long time. I was on, I've kind of gone from 30 milligrams to 40 milligrams down to 30. And then recently I've just been feeling like it's not as effective for me anymore. Like which is expected to develop a tolerance to it. And so first, I increased my dosage to 50 milligrams back in the spring on Vyvanse, thinking that I just needed to boost it. And it ended up making me really anxious. And it just absolutely has been killing my appetite for like the last 2 months. And that makes me even more anxious because then I know that I'm getting hungry and I know that I'm going to start getting tired and brain foggy, but I can't seem to get myself to eat. And I would even try to get like safety foods. That's like a term to have safe foods is a term for foods that you know that you will be able to eat, even if they're not the most like nutrient dense food or whatever. They're just food that you know when you are starving, but nothing sounds good. You know you can eat this thing. Mine is usually cheese sticks, but on the 50 milligrams, my appetite was so wiped out that I couldn't even eat that. I like really was struggling to get myself to eat anything at all during the day. And then I would do the classic thing of your meds wear off and now you're like, holy shit, I'm starving. And then you make a bunch of choices that make you feel like shit and weren't actually what you wanted, but you were just so incredibly hungry that you couldn't even like make yourself the food that you wanted to eat. And so I've just been kind of in this like anxiety spiral for the last 2 months. I can't get myself to sit down and like start work, which is really the hardest thing for me focus wise. Once I'm in it, I can usually click in. But even on the Vyvanse, because my anxiety was also so high, I was really just kind of buzzing around the house, avoiding sitting down because the thought of even looking at work just made me really, really anxious. So I've been tapping for anxiety, which actually we are going to talk about in a few episodes. I'm going to do it as a hobby collectors. It's tapping or EFT. Can't remember what that stands for right now. Don't put me on the spot like that. It's rude. But you'll find out in a few weeks. Also, sidebar, I hope people know that when I use like a mean tone like that I'm completely joking. And I just assume that everyone knows I am. But then there are a lot of people probably who are like, wow, that Grace is really mean. And it's one of those things that I do where it's a joke and I'm obviously joking in my head. But then out loud, there's no indication that it's a joke. And so how would people know that it's a joke? So I hope you guys get it. Yeah, you guys get it. You're freaks like us. Anyway, where was I? Oh, okay. So I have been tapping for my anxiety, which was helpful, but I still just felt, very, very anxious during the day and had no appetite. So I finally reached out to my doctor and asked if we could make a medication change. So as of Friday, I am now on Adderall, 20 milligrams. Adderall, from what I've read, Adderall is like a bit stronger than Vyvanse, but I was on 50 milligrams of Vyvanse. And so, I still am stepping down quite a bit milligram wise on how much stimulants I'm taking. So I feel much better already. I think I might go up to like 25 milligrams. I'm still feeling a little brain foggy, but I feel so much better. I was worried I would be very like jittery, but it's felt very level for me. It's felt I have way less anxiety than I did on the Vyvanse, which is interesting because they always talk about Vyvanse as being like the smoother version of Adderall. And it's probably just because I've been on Vyvanse for so long that I really shouldn't have been going up in milligrams. I should have been trying something else. So I think the 50 milligrams was just like way too much for me. And I was just feeling really anxious. And so I've been putting it off. I've been, it's just a new thing. And I was very anxious about making the switch. And what if it didn't work? What if I had to go through this whole process of trying to find the right thing? It's just a lot of work. So even after you get the diagnosis, it's still a lot of work to figure out the right med for you. But I finally did it because I knew I could not carry on that way. So I finally made the switch. And here I am on Adderall. I just feel like I can get things done around the house. I've been like crushing my to-do list and not in a like obsessive way. It's just felt, I'm very impressed with how like smooth and, normal, whatever that means, it feels. So yeah, that's my little plish that is not little. It's a big one. And it's also a big one lengthwise because I just talked forever and ever. Oh, okay. So let's, Grace, get into this bagel bite. Get your mouths ready. I'm getting into this bagel bite. Here we go. Hold on tight. We're about to dive right in. Don't go anywhere. Here it is. So, since this is a bit of a shout out listener episode, I wanted to start with a shout out from Kristen to her coworker Julie, who for a long time thought that our episodes were too long. And she always said she couldn't listen for more than 20 minutes at a time. She really only listened to the Bagel Bites because the other ones just went on for too long, which I don't understand. Maybe it's just because I listen to podcasts in chunks. Like I don't have to listen to a full episode at once. I'll just listen to it whenever I want to listen to a podcast, which is very frequently. But now Julie is a convert and now she loves them, loves our long ass episodes. And apparently she has gone through all of them and has our theme song stuck in her head 24/7, which, we got you, Julie. We knew we would hook you. Just took a little time. And I guess she especially loved Haley's episode, which is great. I love Haley's episode too. I thought she did an awesome job. Very interesting. So thank you, Julie. Thank you for letting us brainwash you into listening to super long episodes. We appreciate ya. Which is funny because my sister Lily said the opposite thing where she was pissed when we were like, quote unquote, making our episodes shorter, which like barely, Lily. They were shorter by like maybe 20 minutes, if that. So, also speaking of our intro song, our friend Mason, the one who Kristen and I stole that chair with and brought it to the party, remember that? He and his wife Claire visited me and Ian a little bit ago, and he also loves our intro song, and he said it was the most delightful podcast intro song he's ever heard. And Mason listens to a ton of podcasts, so that is a huge compliment. So thank you, Mason. That means a lot. And that reminds me, I want to give another shout out to my father, Steve, for helping us with it. That is him on the ukulele. He wrote the chords. Kristen and I wrote the words, and he figured out the chords and everything and recorded it with us. So I don't know if everyone knows that. I think I've said it at certain points, but I don't know if you missed that. Yeah, so that's my dad playing, who actually has been on his own ADHD self-discovery journey lately. I've been blabbing about it forever, and he's been pushing me off. But in the last 6 months, he's said, you know what? Maybe I think I might have ADHD. I'm like, yes, you're right. You do. But apparently he took one of my Attitude magazines that I ordered and don't actually read. Classic. He brought it up to camp and he's been reading about it. So go, Dad. I'm proud of you, even though I know you're not going to listen to this. All right. So I wanted to, Jesus, how long is this already? What have I been talking about? The doctors. God. All right, so let's keep cruising, Grace. Don't get sidetracked. Oh, here's another shout out. So I can't find which email this was in, but someone emailed us in a little bit ago and they talked about lino in their email. And it was right before Grace, it's me, publicly bashed on lino and asked people to never use that word in conversation with me. If you are that listener, I did not mean you. I was not talking directly to you. I'm so sorry that just seemed to coincide around the same time. I don't know if you're offended or not. I need to figure out what email that was because I was like, I can't believe I did that. Now they're probably like, it's because I said that. No, it was truly just the British design show and the way they were saying it. And now I see that lino is like a very common word that people use everywhere. So you are wonderful and thank you for listening. Sorry for immediately trashing on you the moment you wrote in. All right, onward. Oh, and speaking of that, also, if we don't respond to your email, your DM, your Facebook comment, your Instagram comment, or whatever, it is not because we hate you. Repeat that with me. It's not because we hate you. We do not hate you. It's not because you said something wrong. You did not say anything wrong. There's nothing you could say that would be wrong to us. We're not going to be offended unless you're a jackass, in which case you wouldn't have made it this far into the podcast. So don't let your rejection sensitivity dysphoria get the better of you and think that you sent a bad email. You know how ADHDers are, where we like to write and write and write, which I am like that, as we've discussed. Many of our other listeners also are like that, love to write a bunch in an email, which I adore. Kristen has a harder time with it, but that's okay. I'm doing the reading. It's just, we also have ADHD, so please just understand that it's not because we hate you. It's literally because we're having a really hard time responding to things sometimes. And, we got a lot going on. I just made that med switch. Kristen's always at the hospital. So please keep writing to us. Please keep commenting on things. We love your engagement. The Facebook group is so much fun. Instagram, we love getting your DMs and your comments. The emails are phenomenal. So if you have written into us, we will get to it, we will respond to you and or talk about it on the podcast at some point, okay? So don't worry. We love you and we love everything that you've said to us, okay? Oh, also I do the thing where I like respond in my head. I'm like, haha, that's funny. And then I'll come up with a response in my head and then never send the email or the message. So that's a problem as well that I am working on. All right, here are a few Facebook and Instagram comments from our dedicated listeners that we really appreciate. Oh, here's another one that Kristen wanted me to mention. Apparently, flutterby, that's made up. That's a myth. And just because Kristen believed it in her heart doesn't mean it was true. So luckily, our lovely listener, Ashley, has stepped in with a correction on Instagram. Thank you, Ashley, for this correction. We both appreciate it. Guys, always correct us if you know we're wrong. But don't be mean about it. Be gentle. Please be gentle with us. And Ashley, this was very gentle. Perfect response. So Ashley said, I looked this up and the flutterby thing isn't legit. Sad face. Kristen says, son of a bitch. Oh, sorry. Let me do my Kristen voice. Son of a bitch. No, I'm just going to read it regular. But I believed it in my whole heart. No, but in all seriousness, thanks for looking that up and calling me out. And Ashley says, I honestly believed it too and wanted to tell everyone I knew. But that led to me looking it up and going down the old rabbit hole. The etymology is Anglo-Saxon and it was originally butterfloge. Floge? Butter and then F-L-E-O-G-E, directly translated to butterfly. Huh, very interesting, Ashley. Most articles I found said that flutterby is probably just something that formed from kids mixing up words, like paschetti for spaghetti and stuff. Still my favorite pod, though. And then a little, was that a hang 10 sign? Thank you, Ashley, for stepping in, saving the day. Guys, flutterby is not real. It's just something that I'm sorry if you believe it in your hearts as well. I kind of did too. I had heard that before and I also thought that was real, but it's not. So stop spreading misinformation, guys. All right, on to another message on Instagram from Sherry. Sherry says, thank you, baby Jesus, for you two starting this amazingly authentic ADHD podcast. Literally feel like I'm hanging out with my quirky ass friends. I follow so many ADHD podcasts and WOF makes me the happiest. Aw, feels like home. You girls make me feel less awkward for being so weird. Also, totally relate to being in healthcare too. Peep, peep. Thank you for this message. Stop feeling awkward about being weird. Embrace the weird. It is the only way to go through life because we're weird. We're so happy that you have joined our flock and thank you for your service in healthcare. Oh, and then here's just a quick little tidbit from Jackie on Instagram also, which when I got this message, I literally burst out laughing. It made me laugh so hard. She said, hi, friends. I'm a new listener to your show, fellow ADHDer. I just wanted to know how I can get in line for an elegant piss fountain. This object speaks to me on a spiritual level. Oh, Jackie, thank you for inquiring about the elegant piss fountains. That is a hobby I still have not dropped. I'm still working on the piss fountains. I've run into some problems. I'm trying to pour my own cement bird baths that I can use for the piss fountains. This is a very, very intricate process and I'm in too deep. I got to keep going. I've almost made my first one. Pouring the cement bird bath has been a struggle. I've made quite a few. None of them are right. But on each one, I'm learning something new. So I'm persevering and I'm sticking with it. And soon, Jackie, you will have an elegant piss fountain. And whoever else out there would love to get in on this elegant piss fountain action, this piss action, that would be great as well. So I'll let you guys know when I finally have my first one. I'll put a picture/video out there. And who knows, then I might start selling them for real. They're going to have to be a bit expensive though, because Jesus fucking Christ, they're so much work, but they're worth it because then you get a bunch of gnomes pissing in a fountain in your home. And isn't that elegant? All right, I was going to read a few emails, but like I said, our listeners love to write a bunch and I love to talk a bunch. And so this Bagel Bite is already too long and I have to edit this all. What am I doing? But I did want to fly through a few emails from our listeners that we have not gotten to yet, but we really appreciate. All right, this first email is from Susan, and her subject line is, I hate subject lines, which great subject line, Susan. She says, hi, ladies. So for starters, love you too. We love you, Susan. I actually downloaded Instagram just because of you two. Oh, a lot of people are saying that. So we really appreciate it. But also sorry for getting you back on Instagram/Facebook. Whoever else out there has downloaded social media just for us. Someone also said they got TikTok because of us. So congrats on that new addiction. All right, back to Susan. She says, and I have got to tell you, you both look exactly like I imagined. How crazy is that? That is crazy, Susan, because a different listener, Enya, you guys know Enya, she said that for a long time, she thought that Chris and I were switched in what we looked like. And then once she found out who was who, it took her a long time for her brain to wrap around the concept that we were switched. So that's interesting that we look exactly like you imagined. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is something that you said. All right, back to Susan. Next up, video podcast. I would love to be a mouse in the corner watching you two tape a session. Susan, you're right. We just always look like sweaty garbage when we're recording, but we do need to start that soon. I'm currently on milkshake number 15. Finished the pet-isode. Oh, she emphasized pet-isode, not pet-pisode. So boo, Susan. But Kristen would appreciate it. And someone wrote in saying that they thought pet-pisode was right. So we're tied on what you guys think. She said, I want to get caught up. LOL. Enter hyperfocus. And then she also wrote us in with some squirrel trauma. Do you guys remember squirrel trauma from our pet episode? Pet episode, Susan. Get that P in there. All right, Susan's squirrel trauma. August before my senior year of college, my husband's, at the time just my boyfriend, little brother, and I were going to go school clothes shopping. August, Minnesota, hot. I told him to go get the lab, hand-to-God truth, named Wacko, out of his kennel to go to the bathroom and such before we left. And I told him to give him fresh water, too. He let the dog out and was in the walk-in kennel, filling the dog water. He yelled to me to come turn the water hose off. So I came out of the house and was walking around the corner, and Wacko was running. Wacko's a great dog name. Wacko was running laps around the house. He came full steam ahead, all 80 pounds of him, ran into me and knocked my feet out from under me. I landed on my wrist and broke it. Susan. The neighbor lady took me to the local ER, where, of course, they are required to ask you if you are safe and how did this injury happen. I proceeded to tell the nurse the story, and he proceeds to burst out into hysterical laughter. Not very professional of him, I'm going to add. So she says, yeah, makes me feel awesome. Then they took x-rays, and of course, then I have to tell the x-ray tech what happened. She LOL'd too. I get the x-rays back, and the doc comes in. Same story. What happened? Ran over by a Labrador Retriever. LOL. So then he looks at the x-ray, and it's a break that is incredibly bizarre, and he then feels the need to show and tell every other coworker in the ER. It was a very long 6 weeks in the cast. Fast forward 5 years. Husband and I are in our first house with our 2 labs, different labs. We are in the backyard, and he's throwing the ball for them, but one doesn't listen, so I have her on a retractable leash. Disclaimer, don't try this at home. Oh no, Susan. I think I know what's coming. He threw the ball several times. Out they go. One gets the ball, they come back. Repeat. Until the time when he threw the ball farther than the length of the leash. The 2 took off, and I nearly dislocated my shoulder. She took me down so hard, I had grass rug burn on the front of my shirt. Susan, I'm sure you heard, I think I talked about my rollerblading with Lucy story where she yanked me onto the grass, so I feel you on that one. 34 years later, we still have Labradors and love them dearly. But these 2 stories are high on the squirrel trauma. That is a lot of squirrel trauma. God, your poor arms. There's another one too, but I will save that for another time. Or perhaps a pizza secret, more like a puppy secret. It's shared with the select few when snuggling puppies. Ooh, yes, Susan, please write us in with that puppy pizza secret. All right, so that is Susan's squirrel trauma. Thank you for writing that in, Susan. And then she ends her email with, question, what are your listener demographics? Do you have a poll on that? Ooh, good idea. I'm thinking I am probably the only 57-year-old mother of 3 adult children that listens to you. Okay, that is all. I write like I talk. A lot. From Susan. That is a good question about our listener demographics. I know you are not the only 57-year-old listener. I know there are more of you out there and even older. But yeah, I do think maybe the demographic swings a little bit younger, but I do know that there are others of you out there. And if anything, we really, really love having listeners who are, a little bit older, where this stuff wasn't around when you guys were younger, like at all, even less than it was for us as millennials. And yet at, 57, 60, 70, you're able to learn new stuff about your brain and like accept it and take it into your heart and seek out information about it. So that is phenomenal. That's a huge accomplishment, little accomplishment, big accomplishment, Susan. So congratulate yourself for that. And we love having mom listeners. So thank you, Susan. All right. How am I looking? Bad. I'm looking bad. All right. I was going to read a few more, but the time doesn't allow for it because this is becoming just a full-on episode of myself talking to myself. I thought I would be able to get to more emails, and I had a bunch of other stuff written down from a bunch of you wonderful listeners out there. Once again, I am sorry if you have sent us something and we haven't responded to you and or read it on the podcast yet. We are not ignoring you. We just have ADHD. Please forgive us and understand that. I should set up like an auto response to our emails, shouldn't I? I should, but I'm not gonna. But I might. Maybe. I'll put it on the list. It's going on the list. But please just be patient with us. We appreciate it. We really appreciate you guys sending us all your stuff. If only I didn't have to interject at every single sentence that I read of every single email. I wish. What a perfect world that would be. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of comments, and I like to just act like I'm having a dialogue here with you guys in the moment as I read your stuff. So you got to hear Susan's Squirrel Trauma, so that's great. I still have emails to read from, first and foremost, the incredible Ross down in Australia, another Australian. He sends us a bunch of stuff. He sent me some very helpful advice about my nonverbal learning disorder and some great measuring tips because I struggle with measuring, and some other visual processing tips, which I do want to read on here at some point because that was very helpful. He's also sent us some great quirks and whatnot of his own, so we will get to those, Russ. If only I didn't blabber on so long. We also have a lot of great dialogue and posts going on in the Facebook group by all of our incredible members. We do want to talk about all of that on the podcast at some point, and we definitely will. So keep chattering away in there. We love to see that you guys are like not just enjoying our podcast and responding to us well, but also like commenting on each other's stuff and developing these little friendships within the nest, within the wolf nest. It's just wonderful to see. It's like, all our little babies, all of our little babies are coming together and like kind of becoming friends, relating about their ADHD. So it's just lovely. And my sister Lily just joined the Facebook group. So she's kind of like a mini celeb in there. So have a little chit chat with her, Lil, get things going. Guys, ask her anything. But no, scrap that. Don't ask her anything. Don't ask her anything about me. Cool. We'll also have her on the podcast at some point. Lil, you're coming on the podcast. I want you to talk about how you are the most severe, if you give a moose a muffin effect, ADHDer that I know. And also your midnight cleaning frenzies are very fascinating. So we'll get you on at some point. The list is long. We got to stop telling people we're going to have them on because it's just so long. But we're excited. We're excited to have other guests on. And we will now that we're finally getting the Podloft set up, Podloft 2.0. And speaking of that, all right, I'm ending now. But first, I did want to give a final shout out to David, my father-in-law, Ian's father, of David Fetcher Nightcap fame. You guys know him. He's one of our most loyal listeners. He's like almost always caught up when I see him. It's so delightful that you listen, David, and we really appreciate you. But David has been giving me and Ian so much stuff for our house because he listens to the pod and he knows I have old lady taste, and he says he has old man taste. And so he knows like what style I'm going to like, and he has a bunch of free stuff for us. So he's right. I do like it. And so he's been giving us a lot of awesome stuff for our house. So we really appreciate that. He's also been giving me and Kristen some great organizational things for the Podloft. So Chris and I both appreciate you very much, and we're excited to get you on the podcast at some point. You're on the list. All right, I will end it there. As usual, you can find us on all the social media platforms. You can find us at Weirds of a Feather on Instagram. You can DM us. Come check out our polls. I'm also going to try to start throwing a few polls up in the Facebook group. So don't worry, Russ. We will have polls for you that will stay there forever. So you can't miss them. Speaking of that, you can find our Facebook page at Weirds of a Feather. TikTok kinda, not really. Don't bother. We got a lot going on. We'll eventually film ourselves, but first we gotta get our shit together. You know, we're too frazzled right now. So pause on the TikTok kind of. But you can also email us at weirdsofafeather@gmail.com. And okay, that is it. Thank you guys for listening to my rants by myself alone in this room. I'm Grace. And I'm Kristen. Oh, thanks for listening, guys. You said it, Kristen. All right, bye. Oh, that's a great seagull, Grace. Thank you, Kristen. Whoa, that was alarming, I have to say, Kristen. Yeah, it was pretty bad.